Now, thousands of people are facing the prospect of spending the festive period without a roof over their heads and sleeping rough on the streets.
Now, an all-party group of MPs is calling on the government to deal with what they claim has become a national crisis. Let's get more on this now from the Conservative MP, Gillian Keegan, who sits on the Public Accounts Committee, who compiled that report. Very good morning to you. Thank you for your time this morning. I wonder if, first of all, you could give us a sense of the scale of the problem as you see it.
Well, there's two types of homelessness that are referred to in the report. So the type that we normally, your viewers may be more aware of, is rough sleeping, and that's more than doubled since 2010. And then the other crisis which is emerging is the number of families in temporary housing. So that's people who basically have been evicted or not been able to stay in their residence. They are in accommodation, but it's very much not meeting their needs and in many cases substandard.
When I look at some of the recommendations, just take us through what it is you're recommending. What should be done?
Well, the root of the problem is access to more houses, and where this is happening more is when you have very high rent areas. So obviously London, where I'm sat right now, is a great example, but also Chichester, where I represent. You've got very high cost of rental, and those on low incomes are really struggling to keep up with a rental market that is almost out of control. So in some cases, in London in particular, you see rent rises of 25% or so, and people on lower incomes are finding it very difficult to keep up with that, and they're being outpriced in terms of the market. So clearly the answer has to be more social houses, which are normally rented at around about 50% the market rent, making it more affordable for those on low income.
Do you know, this problem has been, as you well know, has been going on for so long. I look at some of I think this is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is one of your recommendations. It says, the department, as in the government, should, by the end of June 2018, publish a cross-government strategy for reducing homelessness that sets out clear targets and specific actions for all stakeholders to reduce all measures of homelessness. Now, forgive me, but a lot of people hearing that kind of phraseology, that terminology, will be thinking, that could have been written 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 20 years ago. Someone somewhere in a role like yours would have said almost exactly those words. What makes this time any different?
Well, I think the size of the problem makes it different, and it's not just. I mean, we've come across this issue now with homelessness, but there's also many more young people as they try to access housing and accommodation. We do not have enough houses for the people that want to rent them or indeed even buy them. And I think that is a well-known issue. It has been growing, but unfortunately what this report shows is those on the lowest incomes in the more expensive cities are really suffering and are now without homes and in temporary accommodation.
Isn't there an uncomfortable truth, do you think, here, that governments, successive governments, and maybe society, it's a wider issue, actually don't care about this issue? Because you're using the phrase, and it's often used in relation to homelessness, crisis. But you think of other crises. You think of the financial crisis and what happened then, the money that was spent on that occasion. You think of, I don't know, the refugee crisis. You think of crises and you think money is spent. That doesn't happen with homelessness. Is it fundamentally that we don't care enough?
No, I do think we care about it. I think the solution's quite difficult, because what we're actually saying is we need to build a lot more social housing in places like London, places like Chichester, so that we have the right and affordable accommodation for those people that are on lower incomes. That's much easier said than done. And I know that the government obviously has been focused on increasing house building. And I think we have had a record year in the last year, but still not meeting the needs as we move forward. So our record of house building over successive governments for many years has not kept up with the pace of demand, and we have had quite a big increase in our population since 2005, and those plans have not, they haven't been in sync, which is why we need to have a much more joined up approach.
Gillian Keegan MP, thank you very much for your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.